The VP picks a VP. How are Texans feeling about Tim Walz?
It has been like a revival of the dead.
Denton County Democratic Chair Delia Parker Mims says her party is revitalized. It is time for Texas to go back to school, and some districts are going back in time to a period when cell phones were not in every hand. We talk with Superintendent Paul Norton of Lake Travis Schools about a ban on technology and a big budget crunch. Is it sarcasm or a real recruitment campaign? The state of New Mexico wants Texas doctors to move west, and it's using Texas's ban on abortions to lure them. New Mexico's Cabinet Secretary of the Department of Health, Patrick Allen, joins us. And a Democratic district attorney endorses Republican Ted Cruz. What does this mean for the Texas Senate race?
Inside Texas Politics with Jason Whiteley starts now.
Good Sunday morning, everybody. I'm Teresa Woodard in this week for Jason Whiteley. We're going to get you started with a few political headlines we are watching. We've got a lot of political news out of Harris County this week. Harris County District Attorney Kim Ogg, a Democrat, is backing Republican Ted Cruz in the U.S. Senate race. She endorsed Cruz over Democrat Colin Allred. But Ogg's support seems unlikely to influence most Democrats in Harris County. She won only 25% of the vote in her March primary. Staying in the Houston area, a date has now been set for the special election that will fill the remainder of former Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee's current term, which ends January 3rd, 2025. Governor Abbott set November 5th as the special election. Of course, that is the same day as the general election. The general will determine who represents the district for the full two-year term beginning in 2025. So what does this mean? Well, Houston area voters will decide who fills the seat short-term and long-term at the same time. The city of Austin is expected to approve a new city budget this week. The new city manager proposed a $5.9 billion budget. That includes an $18 million increase for police. Austin City homeowners are expected to feel this budget. Bills will likely go up about $22 a month because of increases in property taxes, utility rates, and fees. Of course, the big political headline of the week is a running mate on the Democratic ticket. Vice President and presidential nominee Kamala Harris announced her own vice presidential pick. We asked Delia Parker Mims, the chair of the Denton County Democratic Party, how this pick is playing in Texas. Thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you.
So I have heard this pick described as everything from safe to surprising. How would you characterize the pick of Tim Walz?
I think it is an amazing pick. I'm calling them the Two Live crew, but the good Two Live. They're very lively. I was very excited about it. I think that he is a safe pick, but he's also a good pick that's going to bring in, I'm going to say, the Bubba vote, that's going to bring in the rural vote, that's going to attract voters that are different than the demographics that she attracts. So I'm just very excited about all of it. It's more than just safe. It is the right strategy completely.
I've already seen some people attacking his record, particularly on immigration and also on policing. Any thoughts about, does he have any weaknesses because of what we saw in Minnesota in 2020?
Yeah, you know, he himself will tell you that after that George Floyd incident and all of the eruption that went on, he kind of dropped the ball and missed it, because we're living in times where every day is a new day and we're seeing things that are new. He did not, he admitted he did not handle that well. Being able to admit that you need to improve your systems, I think, is what it makes a leader different. So we know that he has to work on that.
What kind of an energy shift have you seen in the last few weeks since we had Kamala Harris become the nominee and now that she has announced Tim Walz as her running mate?
It has been like a revival of the dead. Okay, I love Biden, and I'm the chair of the Denton County Democratic Party. We increased turnout. We're all excited. We love everything that Biden has done. But after that debate, it kind of got almost to the point where people were a little bit depressed. But right after he announced that he was going to step down, I think there was about 10 minutes. We were kind of sad and was in a state of flux. But then he came back and said, I'm supporting Kamala Harris, or my vice president. And immediately people started grasping to that, and by the time we had the Black Women Call, we were all excited and smiling and energetic, and it was popping on social media. It was popping everywhere. It was like bringing someone to life. It was wonderful.
Can they win?
They absolutely can win. They absolutely can win. Not only can they win, they will win. America is going to be at a crossroads. I think November 5th is going to be a great day because we're going to be faced with looking at our demons of the past, our racism, our sexism, versus are we going to give away this project of democracy? That is where we're at. And I believe that Americans are ready to move forward, to stop being angry at their neighbors, to want to start talking about issues, to want people who are actually happy and excited to be in office. I, as the chair of Denton County Democratic Party, I'm blue, but I believe Great America's purple. And I think that when you have people in office who are happy and want to govern for everyone, that makes us closer to the best America we have. So I absolutely believe not only can they win, but they will.
Can they help down ballot candidates in Texas?
As we are planning our get out the vote strategy in our county, we're always looking at, well, how are we going to do this? Are we going to put Biden on top of it? And before his announcement and before the Kamala revitalization, we were thinking of, well, maybe we may not even put him on there and just focus maybe on all red or focus on some of our down ballot races, saving our schools, getting rid of the voucher scam. But with this new burst of energy, I don't think there's anything better than looking at Vice President Kamala's face smiling on that door hanger with all of our candidates on the back saying, this is how you save democracy and these are who you vote for.
Delia Parker Mims, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Okay, let's bring in the round table now. We've got Bud Kennedy from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, Ian Mitra from the Texas Tribune, and Bernadine Steptoe, the political producer right here at WFAA up in Dallas. So you guys just heard Delia Parker Mims there basically saying they were waffling a little bit about whether to use Joe Biden in some of their down ballot campaign material. Now she says in Denton County, at least, they are all in with Kamala Harris. Bernadine, is that the right strategy in Texas?
At this point, yes, because you can't go wrong. She has, as the county chair said, she has revitalized the Democratic Party, and not just over the United States, but in Texas as well. So I think that it's a good strategy, and it shows too that they are embracing the top of their ticket.
Yeah. Ian, are you surprised to hear a county chair in Denton say that this kind of makes her job easier?
Well, it's not surprising. It seems in a sense that there is an energy that's being brought here. There was a lot of malaise on the Democratic side regarding, Joe Biden, particularly after the debate. But, this is bringing energy among the Democrats because they feel like they have something more to kind of rally around. And it's also creating a bit of a curiosity, too, wanting to get to know Vice President Harris a little bit, or wanting to know a little bit more about Tim Walz. And so there's a lot more to kind of work around here, too, rather than feeling like it's just kind of the same ticket, and which was not necessarily exciting a lot of their base.
Bud, what do you think? Good strategy in Texas?
Teresa, we said before Biden stepped down, we said that in order to win, the Democrats needed three things they didn't have with Joe Biden. They needed more money, they needed a better message, and they needed enthusiasm, something that sent a thrill up the spine of Democratic voters. They have that now. You can see it. This was from the Denton County Party, which is the reddest of the four core counties in North Texas, and this is the Democratic chairwoman who's out there saying she's going to go out and try to win this race. But you have to look at it too and say how far behind Democrats are in Texas. The enthusiasm nationally for Democrats may not carry over into Texas. Democrats in Texas have done so little to build structure, to register voters, have all these new subdivisions in these suburban counties. The Republicans beat them to those voters.
All right, lots more to talk about. Roundtable, you guys stay put, and we'll be right back.
A new school year begins with the same old problems. The budget and student attention spans are shrinking as the likelihood of vouchers is growing. How Lake Travis ISD is navigating this. Inside Texas Politics is back in a moment.
Many of you are in back-to-school mode this Sunday morning, and from budget crunches to attention spans to voucher plans, Texas districts face a lot of challenges as this year begins. The Lake Travis Independent School District is west of Austin. Superintendent Paul Norton spoke with us on the eve of a new semester.
Superintendent Paul Norton, thanks so much for your time this morning. I know it's a busy time, so we appreciate you squeezing us in. I know so many districts across Texas are considering or instituting bans on cell phones, and that's where I want to get the conversation started with you this morning. What is Lake Travis doing and why?
Yes, we started a couple of years ago just dealing with the issue of cell phones like everybody else has been, just the distraction it creates in the classroom, not only instructionally, but also socially for kids, as well as just the bullying, cyberbullying aspect. Kids having their cell phones, just their maturity levels. And so we started a couple of years ago looking at what we can do to impact that in a positive way. So our SHAC committee this past year met, had lots of discussion about it. And they brought a recommendation to our school board in June to ban cell phones basically from pre-K through 8th grade. Kids can have the cell phones on them. They have to be turned off and put away in their backpack, their purse, whatever it may be, but they're not allowed to have their cell phone out during the school day. That starts from the time they walk in the building in the morning until the last bell at the end of the day. Screen time is a big topic, and just kids not engaging socially with their peers, with their teachers, the way that we did when we were in school. And so that is a big aspect of this. When you walk into a middle school cafeteria, you'll see a lot of kids on their cell phones sitting across from each other, much like when you walk into a restaurant, you'll see a family of 4 and they're all on their cell phones. We need to be engaging. We need to be talking. We need to teach our kids that from an early age.
What about during a time of an emergency?
So during an emergency, it's just like it's always been in schools. If there were to be emergency during the school day, we would notify parents. We have our own police department. They would deal with the emergency immediately when it happens. We have a standard protocol that we follow if there were to be an emergency on one of our campuses. And one of the first things that we do is we notify our families of there's a lockdown on campus, there's an emergency on campus, and they can communicate that way. The last thing that we want during an emergency is more people and more parents coming to our campus, because that just causes something else for us to have to deal with.
Let's talk a little bit about budget, if you don't mind.
Sure.
How big of a budget deficit did Lake Travis ISD face coming into this school year?
So our board will hopefully approve our budget in a couple of weeks, and we'll have about a $4 million deficit budget coming in to this school year. It's very frustrating knowing that there's the $4 billion sitting that's been approved by the state legislature that has not been released to public schools. And so we are dealing with the deficit. When you look at, we have not received an increase in the basic allotment since 2019. Since that time, there have been lots of unfunded or partially unfunded mandates that have come forward. We talked about safety just a moment ago. We were all required. We had a police department. We started our police department back in 2021, I believe. So before the House bill came out that required that, we already had a police department in place, but we didn't have an officer at every campus. And so just that mandate alone, even though we did get minimal funding from the state of Texas for it, it still cost us about $400,000 to $500,000 a year to fully force a police department that is a quote unquote unfunded or underfunded mandate from the state. So not only has the basic allotment not changed since 2019, in that time, we've had over a 20% increase in inflation.
I know that a superintendent is not an elected position, but clearly you have to navigate political waters in the position that you're in. Are you beginning to prepare for a world in Texas where school vouchers are the law of the land?
Sure, you can see that's coming, and it's going to look different in different parts of the state. And so here in Lake Travis, it'll look different than it does in other parts. And so we have some private schools, some charter schools that are in our area. And so we'll continue to navigate that. Our challenge, the competition isn't a problem. I don't think anybody worries about the competition. It's the equity in how the game is played, for lack of a better term. If we're going to have vouchers, that's great, but they should have the same accountability, both academically and financially, that we do as a school district. It's public money going to an institution. It should have the same public accountability that any other public school has. So they should take the same test. They should have the same financial accountability as we do. It just needs to be, if we're taking our tax dollars and putting them somewhere, there should be lots of accountability to go along with that.
Superintendent Paul Norton, thanks so much for your time. Good luck with the upcoming school year.
Thank you, Teresa.
The state of New Mexico is recruiting doctors from Texas and using the Lone Star State's ban on abortion to do it. Maybe you've seen billboards, an ad online, or even in your Sunday morning paper. New Mexico's Cabinet Secretary of the Department of Health, Patrick Allen, explained this campaign to us. Secretary Allen, thanks for being with us this morning. I know this campaign has some political connotations, so I want to know who's paying for it and how much it's costing.
Yeah, the campaign's about $400,000 for 4 weeks that we're running it. And it's a mix of state and federal dollars, grant programs, those kinds of things. It's all around healthcare workforce.
Is this more of an effort to actually recruit healthcare workers to New Mexico, or is it an effort to sort of slam some of the conservative stances that Texas has taken when it comes to abortion and gender-affirming care?
Oh, it's absolutely about recruiting healthcare workers. New Mexico, like lots of other states, has a healthcare workforce shortage. And so we're always looking for any advantage we can find to try to attract more providers. We think Texas and states like it have created a political and legal dynamic that creates lots of uncertainty, questions, potentially fear for providers. And I can't think why we wouldn't take advantage of that circumstance in that fight to try to recruit providers.
You mentioned Texas. Are you looking at taking this to other states?
We think Texas provides, a good place to try it out. We think the legal and political dynamic is pretty strikingly different there than it is in New Mexico. It's also a Southwest state, and so we don't think it's such a leap for people to consider New Mexico as an alternative.
Have you seen any hard evidence of an impact on the healthcare system in New Mexico from patients who are leaving Texas because they don't have access to things like abortion or gender-affirming care?
Oh, sure. In terms of abortion services, we provide a huge amount of service to Texans. I think the most recent numbers are something on the order of about 14,000 abortions per year that are provided to Texans. And so it's been a massive change in the pattern of that level of care. But we can also see changes in things like gender affirming care, broader reproductive health. I think one of the biggest concern areas really is around miscarriage care. And that really is not something you plan and expect to travel for. That's something that happens as an emergency. And there's a complex dynamic around care providers and people seeking care around what the actual day-to-day implications of the policy and legal changes have been.
Do you feel like it's putting a burden on the New Mexico state providers?
I think there have been changes in the pattern of providers. I think early on, a little bit after Senate Bill 8 in Texas, and certainly after Dobbs, there was some challenge with waiting times and those kinds of things. I think specifically for abortion care, that has smoothed out a bit, and we're not seeing that kind of a dynamic. But we're a state that needs more of everything everywhere in terms of providers, and so again, we're trying to make a pitch to providers in Texas that they don't need to look over their shoulder and worry about a DA or a sheriff second guessing their medical judgment.
Well, we will be interested to see how this campaign turns out. Secretary Patrick Allen, thanks for your time this morning.
Thanks for having me.
We've got more Roundtable when Inside Texas Politics returns. Stay with us.
This is Inside Texas Politics with Jason Whiteley.
And we are back with more Roundtable. We have Ian Mitra from the Texas Tribune with us, Bud Kennedy from the Star-Telegram, and Bernadine Steptoe, the political producer here at WFAA in Dallas. All right, guys, I want to talk a little bit more about Tim Walz, this pick that Vice President Kamala Harris announced last week. How do we think that this is going to impact the campaign here in Texas? Does a vice president matter at all in Texas? Bernadine?
Well, you know what? If you believe what they say, the vice president doesn't necessarily matter. But I think that at this point, this ticket is going to bring out more Democratic voters than the Biden ticket would have. And I think that is going to impact in that particular way. And also, if you look at Colin Aldred, he's going to need something to help bring out those voters as well. So I think that as we're looking at it now, it cannot hurt. So I think that it can help, if nothing else.
It could energize some folks, you're saying.
Yes.
But, I mean, does a Walz or even a Vance matter?
I think both these candidates are just along for the ride on the ticket. You have these two giant energy force fields at the top of the ticket, and they're going to outshine whoever's beneath them. I don't think we'll hear any more from these candidates after this election's over. The only thing Walz does in Texas, he does bring out a few more teachers. Democrats have had trouble getting the education vote.
Yeah, Ian, your take. I mean, that's a very good point, because getting the educators excited is something that could be very important. And in Texas, there's not a lot of positive energy among teachers right now.
Absolutely right, and that's going to be the thing that that Tim Walz will talk about too. But you know, there's not really necessarily going to be a lot of focus on Walz and Vance in Texas. They'll certainly, you know, be a focal point, but not the top of discussion. And you know what they're going to do is, you know, kind of help carry the message for their ticket. But at the end of the day, you know, hopefully for the Democrats, if they see, you know, Tim Walz being able to cut down, tighten some margins here and there, you know, obviously it's going to be hard for them to challenge very closely in Texas. But if they can make some waves here too, I think that kind of reflects something that's happening in the rest of the country.
And we probably won't see them campaigning here anyway.
Right.
Because there's no possible way to make inroads. So in terms of change of the dynamics of the race.
I am curious, Bud, you talked about just sort of there not being a great structure in place when it comes to the Democrats in Texas. What do you think success would look like for the Democratic Party here?
Well, success for the Democrats is just not getting blown out. Success is holding your ground in the Texas House, you know, keeping the seats you have, keeping the seats in Congress. That was what everybody was worried about 3 weeks ago, was that the Democrats, their seats were going to be flipped by Republicans. Just holding their own is what the Democrats hope for. If they could flip 2 or 3 more House seats and forestall vouchers, that would be a giant win.
Yeah, all right. Well, we appreciate all of your insight. Bud from the Star-Telegram, Bernadine from WFAA here in Dallas, and Ian Meacher from the Texas Tribune. Great to see you guys, as always, on a Sunday morning. And thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day and a wonderful rest of your weekend. Take care, everybody.